Breaking news coming through this Saturday afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. Virat Kohli steps down as Test captain. This is a day after India lost the South Africa series 2-1. Uh, Most of us are shocked. Some of us were seeing this coming, but I think the timing is pretty fascinating. So we brought Guru Sir, Akash, and Vishak on the pod just to get some reactions of what exactly happened. Guru Sir, why don't we start with you? What is your reaction, sir? Virat Kohli stepping down as India Test captain.
Um, Very surprised at the abrupt announcement just a day after the series ended. But Suman, this was coming. This was coming, and I think Virat knew that the daggers were out, and when he would have landed in India, probably he would have been made to resign as Test captain. I think he saw the writing on the wall, and he thought it's best that he goes by himself instead of being told by the administration to step down. Uh, what this all was bound to happen once Dravid took over as coach, replacing Ravi Shastri, and then when the entire fiasco happened when Kohli was removed summarily as ODI captain, even without his knowledge. So he claims this was bound to happen if he lost the series. He lost the series and he's lost his captaincy. Oh, by far the most successful test captain for India. You don't look down upon him. We will cherish all the good memories that he's leaving behind as captain. 40 test wins, fourth in world captaincy order after Graham Smith, Ponting, and Steve Waugh. We are accepted. Move
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, it's quite disappointing news coming through. Vishak and Akash, of course, you both have closely followed Virat Kohli's career as a captain. So, reactions, Akash?
Like how Guru sir said, actually, this was coming. If you look at how the trend has been, December he was asked to quit in T20 captaincy, and simultaneously he said that half an hour before he was asked to leave the ODI captaincy as well. And then, I mean, to be frank, this series I think would have been his last, because it's a fresh chapter basically, and this is nothing new in Indian cricket. This has happened in the past, wherein you see phases of captains and teams working together well. You had a Dada's era, you had a Dhoni's era, and now then you had a Virat Kohli's captaincy era. Now it's time to move ahead of it, is what I feel. It's a good decision from him because he personally decided on his own rather than anybody else asking him to quit or put down his captaincy thing. So it's better to acknowledge this fact and be happy that he recognizes that now he has to perform more as a batter than a captain. And let's wait for his runs to come back as he had before. So just wishing him good luck, and let's look forward to the next new era of Rahul Dravid and probably a KL Rahul and a Rohit Sharma.
Outstanding captaincy. And Vishak, a lot of emotions flowing through the fans as we can clearly see the comments. Your reactions of Virat Kohli stepping down as Test captain, and for everybody's sake who's watching, entire cricketing world was going bonkers with Virat Kohli stepping down as captain. And Vishak was sitting and watching a movie. He doesn't care. But Vishak, talk to us. What do you feel?
It doesn't. It is not like I don't care. So I just wanted to be away from the attention because everybody is there. Just wanted to be away from the attention. So just deviated from it.
I thought
But
Virat Kohli would do that.
huh?
I thought Virat Kohli would be doing that. Stay away from attention and watch some movie.
No, like everybody is putting the same thing. Why involved in the same thing? So just did something different. So to be honest, to talk about it, even I saw it coming. I think me and Akash also discussed this after the yesterday's loss. We were saying that it's high time he stepped down, or if he doesn't step down, it's high time that the board takes some action. I slightly disagree with Akash on saying that it looks like he has stepped down on his own. But somehow, if he has stepped out on his own, I think this decision would have been taken yesterday in the press conference and he would have announced it. I somehow feel it's some external pressure, which due to which he has announced it today. But however, it's purely my opinion. But I hope that is not the case, and he has decided on his own. But I don't feel so. And yeah, it's a high time we move ahead, because I think Virat Kohli has been a good servant of the game. He is as he himself said, when he took over the captaincy, the team was number 7, and he's got the team to number 1. Now it's like the next captain takes it over and carries the legacy. So it's high time. I think Kohli has delivered. Now we will now that he resigned from captaincy and all the. He's not a captain. I would say resigned from everybody because he was removed as ODI captain. So now he is not the captain of the Indian team. We will see definitely better batsman Virat Kohli 2.0, and like we will see him contribute more with the batting.
Okay, and let's get reactions in. We'll talk about the records. Adi, of course, Virat Kohli. We've been speaking about it. I know you will say that this you saw it coming, but I think timing was pretty interesting, isn't it?
No, I didn't see it coming at all. Like,
Okay.
or maybe for the sake of Indian cricket, I did not want to see the mess which BCCI and I think the buck has to stop with Ganguly, irrespective of how big a player he has been, because in the end, it's the administration who has to take care of whatever on-field stuff is happening. I did not expect the uh, mess to seep so deep, and that is exactly what has happened. It is. I will. I mean, honestly, for every sort of development which happens in Indian cricket, there's always a flip side to it. However, I feel this is one of the worst things to have happened in Indian cricket in quite recent times. Even when the white ball captaincy, he was stripped off in for T20 captaincy. Sorry, T20. I think he gave up for ODI captaincy when he was stripped off. Irrespective of whatever the manner was, it was the right call. It was right for Indian cricket because Rohit Sharma is tactically looks more suited, and India in white ball cricket have had a lot of issues where it matters, which is the ICC events. However, in Test cricket, why it is a disastrous sort of, I mean, disastrous is a slightly overrated word with the kind of depth we have in our squad, but why it is still a disadvantage for India because one, Virat Kohli has been statistically our most successful Test captain ever, and he was on the way to be statistically all-time greatest captain ever across countries. I think his winning percentage is below only Ricky Ponting
Correct.
in the all-time list. And I'm sure the kind of strength and pedigree this Indian Test team has, he would have led it to the next level. Nobody can take away from his CV that he led a team from number 7 to number 1. Nobody can, and on this, these are all stats and facts, irrespective of our opinion. On the subjective front, also, he was, I think, probably the only captain who sort of revolutionized and brought back the seam bowling incision, which was missing in MS Dhoni's time. So all of this and his batting never really got affected for majority. I would say 70-80% of his captaincy stint. Only in the latter part of the career, this sort of thing happened. So it was, I think, on the big onus was on BCCI. Couple of things I mean, all of us can speculate but I feel how it could have panned out is one, the Chetan Sharma statement right at the start of the series that was definitely uncalled for when a lot of things had already been settled, had already been said. Uh, uh, that sort of statement at the start of the series was not uncalled for. That could have been probably one trigger. Second is, and this is also based on certain secondary media reports, that after whatever stump mic antics happened last evening in the last test, post that there could have been a word by BCCI or maybe somebody from the administration, which could have just been it could have been from a reprimand to something sort of just a mild discussion on the same. But I think that could have also been a slight trigger. So when there are two massive sort of personalities involved in such a spat, I think uh, it was maybe bound to happen, but I think in the end, it is India's loss and nobody else's.
It definitely is India's loss. And I personally feel, Adi, I think I agree with everything what you spoke about. But one point to add, and me and Guru sir were talking off air before the show. I think Virat Kohli made up his mind during the South Africa tour. Irrespective of what the result would have been on the series, he would have made this decision, is what I feel. I don't know how much of a trigger the stump cam episode happened, or maybe it did not happen. I don't know. Yeah, and
Could
Sid,
be,
let's
could
bring your reactions in. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? Is this the right thing to do? Loss for India, good for India?
Well, to be honest, I'm somebody as whenever I come on the show, I talk a lot about what Kohli could have done better. But deep down inside, I'm a Kohli fanboy, and if there's one form I would have loved to see Kohli continue as a captain was Test cricket, because it's you win Test matches by aggression. You can't be defensive and winning Test matches. So, and knowing the character that he is, I thought that he will grind it out. I remember, Ganguly, how he just came back to prove a point. Once he was thrown out of the team, I just thought that Virat is one of those characters who has that mongrel that, what, the series didn't go my way. Let me just go on a high note. So it didn't pan out that way. And I feel he's at that point in time in his life where, fatherhood and all these things change you as well, where he wants to concentrate on batting, where he wants to, get that mojo back, like Alistair Cook, he just wanted to get those runs and go on. I would have loved to see a transition, and because he has left a huge gulf. If you see, we don't know if it's going to be KL Rahul, or is it going to be Rohit Sharma, or is it going to be some other character that comes in as a captain. But I would have loved to see a transition. I would have loved to see at least a good press conference where he gets the show. I mean, he gets a show that he deserves, because he has been a great captain.
the reason
We
why,
made.
I say that is this is not sort of a this is exactly the reason why it does not look like a more nothing to do with his maybe focusing on batting or something, because of the untimely nature of the decision and the way it has come out. That's why it looks more than that. That way it
Yes.
looks that there is some pent up frustration which has sort of come out, because if it was just for focusing on batting, he would have maybe facilitated it in a more managed sort of manner.
Yes,
Suman,
and Mhm.
Suman, if anybody would have got disappointed after losing yesterday's test match, it was Virat Kohli. He plays with so much of passion, so much of his body aggression is often misconstrued, so to say. But his aggression on the field, it rubs on everybody. It ups the ante. It gets other players to perform better. And if anybody, I reiterate, if anybody was disappointed after yesterday's loss, it was no more than Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
I just add one point. The seeds of discontentment was actually sowed a few years back during Kohli Kumble era. When Kumble was asked to be removed by Kohli, and despite Saurav Ganguly and others going and trying to convince Virat Kohli to retain Kumble as coach, he was adamant. He wanted Ravi Shastri back. They gelled well. It happens. It happens in many countries. I think when the coach and the captain gel well, the team does well, and the team did really well. And he's the most successful batsman in terms of scoring centuries and double centuries as India's captain. So nobody can say that Virat Kohli never performed as a captain. He performed as a captain. Only last couple of years. He was not.
Batting record is better than when he was not captain, sir. He's definitely over 50 average. Question.
He's got 20 centuries as India captain.
Yep.
He's got his highest score 254 against South Africa as India captain. He has got the most home series wins for India as captain. So, I mean, personally speaking, I think this could have been handled a much better way. After all, he served the nation well. He's given great entertainment to all of us over a period of time. So he's not anybody else. He's Virat Kohli. You give him that space to, decide what is best for him. But he knew if this series was not, he was not going to clinch this series. His time was up. His time was up. I mean, from tomorrow morning, you should have heard all kinds of rumors being planted by the BCCI administration against Kohli, and that would have been even more nasty.
And in fact, BCCI has released a statement while we were on pod. Some source, I don't know who this source is, mentioned that Virat Kohli, if he wants, could have continued for another 2 years as captain. No pressure from the board, no pressure from the selectors to step.
Typical of the board.
Yeah. So
No, but
one question coming in from
here,
Studio.
sorry,
Go
just
ahead.
to step in, here I feel that the board is actually honest to their credit, because for test, if they would have wanted to remove Kohli, it would have happened during the limited over sort of scenario itself, because by numbers, by data, by logic, you could not have removed him. Also, because we play the kind of amount of cricket that we are playing, multi-format cricket, it only makes sense to have a separate white ball and a red ball captain. So in that sense, also this made more sense. And for BCCI, it is a sort of a mismanaged scenario now. So BCCI would not have forced him, but I think it more has come from Kohli's side. However, influenced by factors from.
What I can't understand, Suman, is why does BCCI often has to use a source to release news to the media? Why can't somebody put his hand up and say that this is what we wanted?
There should be a
It's
press
usually
conference.
the source. They find some sources from the media houses, plan this, and say that we did not want this situation to happen. We would have liked Kohli to continue. That's not fair. That's not the truth.
There's probably a head of PR position opening up in BCCI, sir, to manage the communications. But question from Sanjay Dubey coming in, sir. Guru, sir, for you. Were there any similar instances of captaincy controversies in the bygone era or from your 70s, 80s experience?
Well, if you compare to the bygone eras, BCCI is much better managed now. Much better managed. Earlier, we have seen Kapil Dev being, there were frictions between Kapil Dev and Gavaskar. Again, we were hearing stories. Then suddenly, if Venkatraman was a test captain, he would lose a couple of tests, he would be summarily asked to move. But today, I think things are much better managed. If a captain is appointed, he knows that he's got that leverage over a period of time, say a couple of years, 3 years, to work around the setup. Even if he loses a couple of series, the BCCI won't sack him. But this build-up with Virat Kohli, this was happening a couple of years ago, and the management was waiting for the right opportunity. By right opportunity, I mean to ensure that Virat is losing skills and Virat is also not scoring runs himself.
Suman, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry. And Vishak and Akash, this is for you. Warner mentioned a couple of days ago that Kohli should be allowed to fail. And also he's got a young family and there is a lot of focus on his mental, thought process. So this probably is also a personal decision, right? We might be overthinking. He might be wanting some space with the family. What do you think about that aspect of life?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at cricketers in India, they're never left alone. So it's just not an individual person anymore once you become a cricketer in India. He's like this big celebrity, especially if you're like somebody like a Virat Kohli or a Sachin or somebody like that. You're like a god to them. So people never let them alone. Maybe fans, maybe media, maybe BCCI themselves. Everybody always surround them all the time. Even if he were to go buy something at the grocery shop, people will follow him. So this kind of focus at the time wherein he's just become a father recently, in this COVID times, wherein he actually had to spend more time with his family. All these things, mess up your mind. Even if you take us put us in his shoes, you're going to work for every day. Your manager is on your head, or your friends are, bursting out at you. Your family is bursting out at you. You will lose it at some point. So there's nothing wrong about this decision. I would say, let's respect his decision. There will be influences. There will be fans feedback hitting his head, BCCI's behavior hitting his head, his own family asking him for more time. All these things do come at you. So maybe it's time that we accept it. It's his personal decision. He might have taken this decision to focus more on his batting and also spend time with his family. So let's expect that is what I would say.
Yeah. And Sanjay makes a good point. We forgot the loss of yesterday pretty quickly with this big statement. Adi and Sid, question for you. Who next? KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma?
Okay. I think, I'm not very impressed with KL Rahul as a captain, to be honest. Looking at his streak with Punjab Kings 11, I'm not sure about his Ranji credentials as a captain. So he definitely, for me, doesn't look the part as of now. He can be a good vice captain. I would say Rohit Sharma has a few years ahead of him. Why not him? Or look at somebody else, probably if Ashwin is going to be around or somebody else as a captaincy material. But I think KL Rahul does not come as an automatic test captain to me, given the fact that there are going to be wholesale changes now.
Adi?
I think Rohit, it is going to be Rohit, irrespective of, I think because of mostly because of lack of choices. Because I mean, Rohit is anyways going to lead the white ball team and even in the red ball team. But it is a shame that we don't have a sure shot. Rohit Sharma was also not a sure shot Test 11 member till almost maybe 12 to 18 months back. And KL Rahul, if he would fail for next three Test matches, I think there would again be question mark on his place in the playing 11 as well. So Rohit looks like the obvious choice. However, I feel uh, it will still be uh, the initial choice of Kohli continuing as Test would have served India slightly better because of also the sort of workload management. Because we could have rotated Kohli, we could have rested Kohli in maybe a couple of white ball bilaterals, and same for Rohit, and also the mental drainage that it takes. The job of captaincy and Rohit Sharma's sole focus otherwise would have been to prepare the team for the upcoming two world events, the T20 World Cup in Australia, followed by the 50 over World Cup in India. His sole focus could have been there, and Kohli was, anyways, pretty much aligned with making India the best test team. So that was working out pretty well. With KL Rahul, like Sid said, he seems to have all the uh, book sort of qualities of a good captain. He looks calm, he looks composed, he speaks well. He's also decently consistent with the bat. But despite of all that, it does not seem to sort of reflect in his captaincy results. However, I think it's too early. Eventually, he might get a shot at India's captaincy in some years' time. Also, a shame that probably the best choice, if Rahane was in form and Rahane had his playing 11 place, it was not in jeopardy, then Ajinkya Rahane could have led the test team and Rohit Sharma could have led the one day team. And we saw what Rahane did in Australia with the second string Indian side, led them pretty well. And that could have been uh, an ideal scenario for India if Kohli would have stepped in that case. But now we are left with almost no choices. We'll have to go with a uniform captain in both the cases. Ashwin also does not always merit a place in the playing 11 in overseas test matches. In this series, it kind of got proven that Ravindra Jadeja's first choice in inclusion in England, when a lot of folks questioned Jadeja's inclusion over Ashwin for the first test, it kind of now validated. He played 6 innings with 140, and the batting looked really thin. It looked like we were just playing with 4 or 5 solid batters. And in terms of bowling in overseas conditions, they're almost equal. In fact, Jadeja probably does a better job of containing the opposition in overseas conditions. So Ashwin's place is also not 100% sure in overseas conditions. Then we're left with Rohit as a choice,
Yes.
and I think that's how it will proceed.
Yeah, Guru Sir, Akash, and Vishal, who's your choice? I
Yeah,
want to go with
I would like
yeah.
to be slightly different on this, Suman. Uh, Traditionally, we always look at a batsman as captain in our team. Why don't we think in terms of how the Aussies have been thinking? They give the captaincy to a bowler, Pat Cummins. I mean, just why can't we just think about Jasprit Bumrah? He's
One
a
reason, I think, one reason is Jasprit Bumrah.
see, in India, in Indian Test cricket, there are only 3 or 4 guys who are regulars in the 11. Other than Rohit Sharma, it is KL Rahul and Jasprit Bumrah, and the other fast bowlers rotate between themselves, alternate due to injuries or whatever reasons. Shami, Siraj, and others. Why not Jasprit Bumrah? I mean,
Because
he's a
one, I think
regular.
one reason, very obvious reason, is which data itself will tell us that Jasprit Bumrah has played zero test matches in his career in India till now. Australia can afford to go with a seamer as their captain because their home ground is Australia, where a seamer will most likely play all the matches. India, with the kind of workload and Bumrah is already having a stress fracture, I am sure India will not like to use Bumrah in home test matches against, let's say, a team like even Australia. They have not played Bumrah and managed to clean sweep Australia.
Yeah, it's a
So
left field choice, sir. I think Apka point absolutely agreed. Like Sid mentioned, there is no transition. Whereas if you look at Australia, they were always seeing Pat Cummins as a future captain, 2, 3 years before he actually got captaincy. So I think the luxury is not there. And that's what happens when we take off our top performers, like Akash said, right? But Akash and Vishak, what's your call on who's going to be the next captain? Because important.
I would initially go with Rohit Sharma and tell Rohit clearly that like you have 2 to 3 years time, and you have to and identify a proper vice captain. Like not one. Like Australia had 2 to 3 vice captains in this team. If you see when Tim Payne was captain, so do the same thing. Have 2 or 3 people identified, groom them, and see who does better and do the transition slowly in the next 2 3 years, because even you see that Rohit Sharma is not going to play long. What he is already 34, so he's going to be 35 this year, I guess. So you don't see him playing for long, maybe till 2023 or 2024. So he can be captain till then, and then slowly when he is gone, the other person, the other 3 persons, whoever is ready, like the best person can take it over. So the transition has to be done now. So because the transition is not done, give it to Rohit Sharma now and start the transition. That would be my preference.
Akash?
Well, I'm personally not a big fan of split captaincy, so I would stick to Rohit Sharma in all formats. But I would also, try and see if how Iyer can fit into this team as a batsman, also in future as a vice captain, and taking over the baton from Rohit Sharma in future, maybe in some time. That would be my opinion.
That's great point. Shreyas Iyer, I never thought of him. So last point before we drop, there is a lot to talk about Virat Kohli. But let's go around the table. What is the best captaincy moment for India or for Virat Kohli we have seen? Guru sir, आपसे start करते हैं.
Captaincy moment, I think, when we beat Australia in 2018, uh, after 71 years, after 1948. That
Excellent.
was the best moment.
Excellent. Sid?
I can't disagree with Guru sir there. It was the first time that we were dominant, and many people will say it was a second string Australian side or a struggling Australian side. I don't buy that. Home advantage is home advantage. We just saw what a struggling South African side did to us. That series was sheer brilliance. I mean, Justin Langer, every time you listen to him, you realize that I mean, you go out and dominate. I mean, and Indians were not known so far to be that team, so that was his best moment.
Okay. To Australia 2018. Sid? Sorry, Adi?
I think more than one moment, I would say the way he led the sort of Ranasa of India fast bowling in overseas conditions. Because after stepping out from the Dhoni era, we sort of Dhoni followed that template of sticking to his strength even in foreign conditions, which did not really work out well for us. But the way he sort of backed seamers, started going with four seamers, and if I have to, even in that, if I have to pick out one moment, then I would say backing, and it was a collective call with Shastri, I think, was backing Jasprit Bumrah to debut in South Africa in 20, I think the last tour that India did. That was a massive call, and it did not initially look like a very correct call because Bumrah did not have, I think, enough red ball experience and all that. But look how that has turned out.
Masterstroke, man. That was a
So yeah.
masterstroke. And like Ravi Shastri said, I've told them to unleash Bumrah in South Africa. Unleash him. Akash, your moment?
Well, I can't disagree with any of these guys. I mean, the records obviously speak for themselves, and his aggression, his liking for fast bowling, all this is there. But I think one point which always struck my mind was his aggression for himself and his team has always been there. But to speak for an opposition player like Steve Smith, your own fans actually put him down, and you speak for them in support of Steve Smith. I mean, that was one moment which will always stay with me. He supported
Yeah.
Steve Smith in that particular moment when nobody else would have even thought about that. I think that moment for me would be the best.
I think he received the ICC Spirit of Cricket Award for that, and that is a very underrated part of Kohli's nature.
True
Absolutely,
sign of a leader, man. True sign of a leader. Vishak?
absolutely.
I think the point which I wanted to make, Aditya already made. It's like the way he built the fast bowling lineup. Because when you see one thing which India lacked was the fast bowling lineup. The way he built up the reserves and he got a strong fast bowling lineup. That's one of his best thing which happened in Kohli's captaincy. If I have to pick an achievement, I would See, there I would pick two things: the Australia series of the 2018 and the recent England series. The way we dominated that series, we were almost on the way to win it, except for that whatever happened in the COVID scenario. So I think those two would be the achievements. But I would still say the building of the fast bowling lineup and the way he got the Indian team to the top. I think we have received a test match for 6 years now. Continuously, we have been on top of the rankings. That is no mean achievement.
Yeah,
So
number 7 to
that's
number
awesome.
1. That's
Yeah.
impossible. I mean, that's outstanding. And Virat Kohli, if at all you ever listen to this podcast, just remember we are all big fan of yours. You brought in so much joy to our India cricket, and hopefully this captaincy relieves of pressure, and you just go all guns blazing for every single team comes your way, white
Beast
ball or test
2.0.
cricket. Yeah. So thank you, Guru sir, for jumping on. Adi, appreciate it. Sid, Akash, Vishak in short notice because Virat Kohli pulled up this surprise. Hopefully, get some rest and leave him alone on the media. Let him relax and let him spend some time with family. He'll come back stronger and bigger. Thanks very much for watching and see you later.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Guru.
Thank you, guys.
You.
Thanks.